Welcome to the NAPE YouTube channel. Can I bring to your attention that NAPE this year is holding an SEND conference at the University of Bedfordshire. Please look out for details on the NAPE website. Today I am going to briefly summarise most of the Special Educational Needs and Disability Government White Paper of March 2023 with reference to the Green Paper published a year earlier. Obviously this is a whistle-stop tour, so I do urge you to download a copy of the white paper. I'm grateful to a number of websites that have examined the paper and its repercussions for my sources. These are listed in the description below. Now, the review of the Special Educational Needs and Disability Improvement Plan, known as SEND, was first launched in September 2019. However, the Green Paper for public consultation was not published a few years later in March 2022. Now, if I can remind you, a government Green Paper represents the best the government can propose on the given issue. Remaining uncommitted, it is able, without loss of face, to leave its final decision open till it has been able to consider the public reaction to it. Hence the consultation. The consultation for this Green Paper was given from March until July. After the Green Paper comes the White Paper as a result of that consultation, and the SEND White Paper was published a year later. The first introductory chapter admits that there is a failure of the existing SEND delivery structure to deliver improved outcomes for children and young people with SEND. However, the blame is apportioned to its implementation and terms it a vicious cycle of late intervention. A cycle that clearly the Green and White Paper attempts to address in what the government identifies where those failures appear to be. The diagram shown here tries to lay bare those so-called failures. So what are the main headlines of the White Paper which schools need to take notice? In the White Paper, the reforms, if put into law, are the following updates and changes that are proposed, trialled, and indeed may become statutory. The first one is national standards. It sets out to clarify the types of support that will be made available, who will be implementing that support, and how it will be paid for. By the end of 2025, and I quote, a significant portion of those standards will be published. If the standards are not met and deemed deliverable, then new legislation will facilitate intervention. The paper then sets out what is going to occur to assist the government's quest for improving standards. And these are the following. Firstly, to start testing some of the elements of the national standards with regional expert partnerships, and a commitment to publish by the end of 2025 a significant portion of those national standards. This will include advice and support from parents, carers, children and young people, strategic leaders, frontline professionals, voluntary sector representatives, local authorities and cross-government civil servants. And then introduce local SEND and alternative provision partnerships within regions and local areas. There's an expectation that local SEND and alternate provision partnerships create evidence-based local inclusion plans. The government is committing £2.6 billion between 2022 and 2025 to fund new places and improve existing provision. There's a commitment to develop innovative approaches for short breaks for children, young people and families, which will cost £30 million. There will be a review of social care legislation relating to disabled children. There will be a standard EHCP template used across the country with supporting processes and guidance from 2025, and this will be digital. There'll be a requirement for local authorities to improve information available to families and provide a tailored list of suitable settings informed by the local inclusion plan. And finally, create a 3-tier alternative provision system. All these points are now going to be covered. The next chapter relates to accountability, that is, to ensure expectations are met, taking into account Ofsted and Care Quality Commission requirements. It said that the clear standards for universal and SEN support provision, so those without Education, Health and Care Plan, EHCP, will enable better accountability to maintain standards. For instance, the standards could set out how schools must adapt their physical and sensory environments to enable pupils with SEND to learn alongside peers more easily. Now, this is because sensory rooms can be used to develop a student's sensory skills, such as visual development and visual stimulation. What is a sensory room? A sensory room is a specially designed environment that caters to the sensory needs of a student, facilitating their participation in learning. Because the room provides children with the autonomy and freedom to analyse the self-environment using their senses in their time. The rooms provide a tranquil space where students can retreat from the sensory overload of the typical school environment. And of course, this can then significantly reduce stress and anxiety, therefore enhancing the overall quality of life for these students. As some of you will know, an Educational Needs and Health Plan, or EHCP, is a legal document describing a child or young person's special educational needs, the support they need, and the outcomes they aim to achieve. The Department for Education is planning to create a standardised EHCP template, but this guidance won't be in place until 2025. And I quote, "The government's SEND review Green Paper proposes that there should be a new standardised and digitised EHCP process and template to minimise bureaucracy and deliver consistency." By the end of 2024, the Department for Education regions groups will work with local partnerships to develop and agree LIPs, local inclusion plans, and the regional task force teams will support areas most in need. From 2025, there will be primary legislation to make partnerships of this type statutory. And of course, these partnerships will bring together partners across education, health and care, local authorities, parents, extended partners such as youth justice, in meeting their statutory responsibilities for children and young people with SEND and those who need alternative provision. Families will be part of the local inclusion partnerships and help to develop local inclusion plans, because what is argued is that strengthened accountability across the system will indeed increase confidence. Mandatory mediation. Ministers had controversially proposed to make mediation between councils and families during the EHCP process mandatory. Therefore, currently thousands of appeals go to the first-tier tribunal, with some parents waiting up to a year for help. What the government have said in the white paper is, to help maintain positive relationships locally, we will refresh the model set for co-production at a local level, including clear and transparent communication with parents over mediation. This will set out expectations for how local areas should work with families in their area to engage constructively and, as a result, prevent issues from escalating. Because the government argues that the new up-and-coming standards will have improved co-production with families and strengthened accountabilities, as it will be made clearer to families what support should be provided by whom. These improvements should then help to prevent disagreements arising in the first place. There's going to be a new leadership level national professional qualification, NPQ, and it will become the mandatory qualification for SENCOs from September 2024. Now this actually replaces the NACE & Co qualification. Teaching of NVQ for SENCOs will begin in the autumn of this year. Also this year, the DFE will explore opportunities to build teacher expertise through a review of the initial teacher training core content framework and early career framework. So, by the end of 2025, the DFE will publish 3 of its new practice guides, arguing it will make the best use of provision and identify needs early, accurately and consistently. The guides will also meet the Green Paper commitment to set out clear guidance on the effective use and deployment of teaching assistants for pupils with SEND. New special schools. 33 free special schools have been promised to 30 councils, mainly those with large high needs deficits. There will also be a new approach to alternative provision to prepare children to return to mainstream schools or prepare for adulthood. The SEND review also proposed a national system of funding brands and tariffs for pupils with special needs to ensure more consistent funding than perhaps had occurred in the past. If it goes ahead, bandings will cluster upon specific types of educational provision and tariffs, setting the rules and prices the commissioners use to pay providers. No specific dates for implementation were provided. Just a pledge alongside our broader changes to the national funding system and development of national standards, is the quote. The new system will give providers, it claims, clarity on how much funding they should expect to receive in delivering support or a service, and enable commissioners to determine the funding required. Many thanks for going this far in the video. I hope you found this whistle-stop tour useful and give you an overall view of the proposals in the white paper, some of which will become mandatory, I suspect. I do urge you to read the full report if you have the time. Thank you.